Ben.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. So, I'm in Perth, Western Australia. I'm guessing you're in Sweden, yeah?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Excellent, excellent. If it's all right with you, I wouldn't mind starting back in 1989, back in Stockholm. How did Unleashed first meet and get together?
Well, I was in a band called Nihilist prior to starting Unleashed, and I was an underground band, obviously in Stockholm, and we played we recorded a couple of cassettes, and after the split up, or literally, Nikki wanted to form a band that was called Entomb, so I formed my own band called Unleashed, and that's kind of how everything started.
Yeah, awesome.
Um, and we I mean, that was in late 89, and well, see, most of us back then, we were just like, death bangers. We went to parties and banged head together, and drank beers and stuff. There wasn't really a lot of shows to attend, and nobody really wanted us to play anyway because there were so few people. But at when things started to develop, we figured out, well, let's bring this to another level, and we started to practice a lot more. And Entomb did the same, and I think that was a good development. I mean, we got two pretty strong bands that had something to offer, and so we all took it from there. Started to try and figure out how to get a record deal, and record a first album and get on tour as very fast as possible. And that's pretty much what happened in 1991. We got on tour with Morbid Angel in Europe and North America, and yeah, that's kind of in very short,
Yeah, sure.
the start of things. Yeah,
Yeah. So, was there any chance to play shows sort of around your hometown, or was it straight to the big stages?
yeah. Of course we did. I mean, we played a couple of shows in Sweden, obviously. In the beginning, when I was in Nihilist, we played literally for our friends. It's
Mhm.
like there wasn't anybody in the crowd that we didn't know, that we didn't have a phone number to. So, yeah, but then when Entomb formed and Unleashed formed, then we could start playing bigger shows. And that said, it wasn't 1,000 people there, but maybe 300, and that was a huge difference to playing for 50 people. And so it all started with a bunch of friends that were just partying, man. It was the guys from Dismember and Grave and Tiamat, and and everything just blew up one of these days. All of a sudden things just blew up, and more people started getting into death metal, because we all grew from the thrash scene. Obviously, before we even knew what death metal was, we all were, Slayer and Metallica and Exodus fans and stuff like that. So that was just a natural development, I think.
Yeah, cool. You've been credited as one of the first death metal bands to write songs about Vikings and Scandinavian history, which is, a lot more common now than when you first did it. Is
Right.
that something you were always interested in before starting the band?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that's been with me ever since I was young. I mean, back in school in Sweden, that wasn't something that the school system wanted you to read about. They taught everything but our own tradition, and for some reason they felt that's the thing that you can leave out, and I didn't buy that. I figured there must be something to it. There's got to be some worth to it, some values there, that means something, because they didn't want me to know about that, and definitely didn't want to put it in the school books. And back then, obviously, there was no internet, so if you wanted to know something, you have to ask your dad, or you have to go to a library, literally, and look up things in books, physical books. And so that's how it started for me. And yeah, and I just everything just developed from there.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. So you released five awesome albums in the 90s, and then there's a bit of a gap between 97's Warrior and 2002's Hell Unleashed. What sort of happened in that little dip there?
Yeah, that in I'd say in end of '97, we had been out on tour for, well, like 7 years consecutively, and we've recorded albums. We've been on tour. We were hardly home, and we really didn't make a lot of money to put back in our business. So our problem was that we were worn out, not just physically, and you know, the fact was that we got home after like 7 years of hard touring, and obviously, if you're on the road for that many years, and then you need to make some kind of money in order to put back into the business. You need to buy new guitars, new gears, amplifiers, cords, and everything. We didn't have anything. We were just worn out, and we had a great time, obviously, because we made so many fans around the world, and everything was, it was fantastic. Although we got home and realized we could not even buy new gear, and that was sad. That was really sad. And so we figured it was a smart time to take a break, so that we could charge batteries and talk about what the future is going to be like, because that's something that we hadn't even had the time to sit down and just talk about. We were just constantly thinking about the next tour, or the next festival, or the next shirt design, or the next songs to be on the album, etc. And so I think we were home like 98, 99, and well, something like that. 2 years where we actually cut ourselves off from the music industry. Then we met together again in, like, I think in the end of 99, 2000, started doing interviews and started working on new material. And so for the band, the break that we had was about 2 years. But for most people, there was a break about 4 years, because they didn't see us until we released the new album. But it takes a lot, like 1.5, 2 years to make that album and actually get it out and book festivals and stuff. So, so I guess that's what happened, and I think it was the right thing to do, because well, I mean, if you look at it, now, then if we hadn't taken that break, we might not have been here today. I mean, it was just more than a break. Personally, for example, I got my degree in finance in those years, and which helped me a lot to understand how to keep track of things, and how to monitor the business side of things. And that's something that we didn't know anything about when we were younger. I mean, we started this, we got right out on a world tour when I was 20, in my 20s, and Anders was still a teenager. And so that's how it is. I mean, you gotta, at some point, you gotta stop and think, what is it that we need? How can we do this so that we can last like 30 years instead of 3 years? So I think that's something that I look back at with positive eyes now. And I don't think it's, a lot of people say, well, why did you take that break so long? And well, let's see, it was inevitable. It had to happen. And it is the reason for why we're still here now.
Yeah, cool. When you did come back after that little break, was there a different approach to songwriting or anything like that?
Not really. Well, what did change though is that we got a new guitar player in '95. Well, the new Fredrik, as we used to say. We had a Fredrik before him too, and so I mean, he's the only guy that's been with us. The only change ever since the first album. So, but he brought such a new dimension to the band, and because he's I mean, compared to him, I could not play the guitar, although I made 5 albums, but it's just not comparable. So, and I told him very early on that I want him to make more music, and I can concentrate on vocal lines and vocal melodies and lyrics and stuff like that. So what happened is that he took more and more responsibility, and now on the past 10, 15 years, he's been doing all the music. And I think that shows. It's such a big difference as to what we can accomplish today on an album, let's say compared to like '93, that I would not want to go back. Although I like the old songs, of course. I mean, we still played them live. We played them live, and we played the new songs live, and so. But that's the biggest change, I'd say, because when we got Fredrik into the band, he brought just a totally new dimension to the music and production. It's also his studio that we record everything in.
Oh wow, okay.
So, yeah.
We talked about bands a little bit. You were talking about thrash bands you're into back when you were starting out. Are there any sort of newer metal bands that you're listening to at the moment?
Yeah. Just the new Eclipse album, Wired, is just, that's on my turntable like all the time. I like the new Thunder Mother as well. It's a really good album, strong heavy metal. And yeah, I mean, and obviously I like a lot of I listen to a lot of older stuff as well. I don't, and I guess that's it comes with the age, you know. I'm 53, so there's just like most people I know, we have a lot of a lot of albums in our, you know, in our catalog. So we once in a while you have to listen to the old stuff as well, and that just it just pops up whenever you open up a cold beer. That's how it is. But I love listening to new music as well. But I guess you with years, you know, when years pass by, you get more and more like, well, if I listen to something new, it just have to be very, very good. I don't listen to things that I don't think is fantastic anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
that's obviously because I've listened to so many records over the years. You know, if I only had like 50 records to listen to, then which was the case actually when I was a teenager
Mm.
in the beginning. But now it has to be really strong, or I probably would get bored. So that's a change, I guess.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. So if we jump forward in time again, No Sign of Life, your 14th studio album, is coming out November 12th this year. This is the 5th chapter of Odelheim, right?
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Can you tell the people at home about the Odelheim story?
Yeah. Well, it comes from a book that me and a friend started writing like 15 years ago or so. I'm not exactly sure when we started, but and it's about the book was called The World of Odelheim, and it was about the Midgard warriors and their fight for their way of life against the enemy, which is the armies of White Christ. Now that was a book that we never finished because we I think we took on a project that was a little bigger than we realized, and then life came around and kind of put a stop to much of what we felt would be a good process, a working process. Now and then I figured it would be a smart idea to take that and put a lot of the chapters into the songs, and you know, and it actually worked, and it seems to be working. So that storyline is now continuing for the, like you said, for the fifth album now consecutively.
How long do you think it'll continue? Like, do you sort of have a an ending in mind or anything like that?
Oh, I know how it ends, but the thing is that when we when we start a new creative process, which is normally now, I mean, the new album is coming out in November, and I think the next process would probably start, let's say February next year. Then we always have a discussion within the band if we are to finish, or if we should stop this, or we should keep on going with the same type of storyline. We've done that for many years now, and so it seems that everybody in the band wanted to continue. And I also get very, very positive feedback from people who listen to the album, and so I don't see an ending to the storyline right now. Actually, it seems that it will continue, but there is a new discussion about it in come February, March next year.
Okay, yeah, no, that's cool. So was this recorded during COVID and the pandemic and everything?
Yeah, it does.
How was it during that? Like, did it make things trickier than they normally would have been?
Not really. I mean, everything is so digital anyway these days. I mean, it isn't that we have to meet in order to. When things were at the worst peak of the pandemic, we didn't really have to meet anyway because we're sending files to each other. It's the same with the lyrics. I mean, I don't have to go to a practice room to sing in order to, you know, to keep my band members in the loop, so to speak. And so that was really easy. I'd say it would have been the same anyway. So, and it's been like that for ages. I'm guessing for most bands. So
Yeah.
So it's been okay. It's been okay.
Oh, good. I see you've got some pretty huge festival dates coming up. How long's it been since you guys played live on stage?
Oh, yeah, it feels like 100 years, but it's I think I think our last show was probably in France or in Sweden, because we had a 30 years anniversary in Stockholm, and that must have been a little more than 1.5 years ago. So I was actually, yeah, I think that was like 2 months before the entire thing started in Sweden, and everybody were started to get scared and stuff. So yeah, it's been a long time, uh, very long time. It feels like, well, it's crazy. I mean, we're now talking about putting up the new set list, and you know, so we actually have to literally meet and practice. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, how about that?
Yeah, it's pretty novel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's awful. Normally, you should play so damn many festivals or something so that you don't have to go to practice. That's the trick.
Yeah. I think it's impressive that like you've been pretty, you know, with minimal lineup changes with the same group of guys for a long time. How do you not get on each other's nerves doing big tours and that sort of thing? How do you sort of manage that?
Well, I think that first of all, we're really good friends. I mean, you know, it's almost, well, it's literally a family of band members. I think the other thing is that we don't really make those huge tours anymore. I mean, we're playing huge festivals, we play single headlining shows, etc. Although we could easily be away for a week or two, like for example, going to Australia would be no problem. But we can't really be away for 7 weeks consecutively anymore because our lives will put an end to that. I mean, we're old enough now to have children and responsibilities back home. So and we've been working like this for ages now, and that's one of the things that we agreed to, that this is the way we're going to keep the band, because then we know we will always be longing for the next show. We will always feel like it's 1992 again. If we were to like say goodbye to our families and everything and just get out there on the road and play for 5-6 months every year, I think that would wear us out. So it's all about staying hungry and having a great time, and I think that this has been working for a long time, and that's why I can tell you now that it is going to work for a long time also in the future. And that's really comforting, because we've been doing it for 32 years, and I'm in no position to say I want to stop. I just, that's not going to happen. And the only way I could say it isn't going to happen is that we actually have a plan for this to be the one of the finest moments also in the future. And so yeah, it's looking good. Even though we don't play that much as we did in the early 90s, it's still really fun to be around and do this.
Yeah, excellent. That's cool. So are there plans to release any other videos or anything for No Sign of Life?
Yeah, there will be a kind of a real. We have 2 lyric videos out now, so there will be a like a real video out. In I don't know the exact date. It's not going to be many weeks now, but that one is already recorded, and it's in the mixing process right now. So yeah, and excellent. I don't even know if I can. I don't think I can tell you which song yet. It's probably something the record company is gonna put out when it's about time.
Yeah, no problem. Cool. All right, look, Johnny, thanks heaps for your time. Fingers crossed you can make it to Australia again sometime soon. And I'm sure you're looking forward to hitting the stage again, man. Have a good one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks a lot, Ben. Good talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, man. Cheers.
Take care. Cheers, man.
Yeah.